Okay, I'll come back. Danielle Kraus,
Here.
Steve Roundtree,
Here.
Catherine Vallon, Scott Papich,
I'm here.
Trustee Corvallis. So, Ron Mitchell, are you on? Because if we can't hear Ron, we don't have quorum. Ron, can you hear us? Now I see a couple of different Rons.
Is he on phone and online?
No, they're both seem to be online, not the call-in user.
Huh.
Andrew Dewart, are you on?
Well, we'll just wait.
Oh, I see Ron's lit up. Ron, I think I can hear you.
Yes, I'm here.
There we go. Okay. Can you mute one of you? Because there's going to be an echo because I see there's two.
One second.
Okay. If you could just mute yourself, then we'll be good. It shouldn't be a problem. Thank you all. So we have four.
How's that?
You're still, try it again.
How's this? Can you hear me?
Yep, that's perfect. Thank you.
I just received a message from Catherine that she doesn't have a link, so I'm sending it again. Scott, did you get the link? Because it seems like you and Catherine are the ones that, oh, there she is. Sometimes don't get the link through the town website.
I was able to get the link from an
Andrew's trying to
operator.
get on. Andrew's trying to get on too.
And Ron, you're echoing. I don't know if it's because there's two of you on.
How's this? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Andrew is trying to get on, that's what I was saying.
Okay.
Does he need anything or is he just trying to get on?
He just sent me the link and said he was trying to get on. I got on, but I don't know where he is yet, but he's trying to get here.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Ron.
And it looks like we have quorum. And Andrew will just be one more. So I think we're okay to move forward.
Okay.
And then you'll just add them to the role that they were there when they show up. Is that right, Kate?
Yeah, I check in.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments on the consent agenda this evening? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
And Kate, would you take the roll?
Yes. Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Dewart, not on yet. Ron Mitchell,
Here.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
All right, thank you all.
Great, thank you. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items? Hearing and seeing none, I'd say let's move on to the next item. And that is, so let's see. We're starting with informational items. Is that
Yes.
okay? So let's start with the chair report.
Yep.
I had to close my door so I can hear. I don't really have anything to report this month. I have not had many meetings with people in person because of the holidays and because of having COVID. So it's kind of been a quiet month. That's pretty much it for me. Do you have a treasurer's report, Ron?
Yes, very brief. The income for this year at the year end was slightly higher than we had thought we would get. We got very close to 400,000 in TIF money, and that's about 50,000 more than we budgeted. We thought we would get, and we got about 40,000 in the mill levy, and that was about 5 to 10,000 more than we thought we would get. So we did well, and there may be a little bit more coming because of delinquent taxes that are still yet to be paid. So that's an information item more than a report.
Great, thank you, Ron. And Kate, do you have an executive director report?
No, I don't have anything to add other than what's in there. Thank you all.
Great, thank you. And for town staff report, I think we don't have one in here this evening, so we're going to skip that part. We have project status, and Kate, are you going to share that?
No, I just included them in this
Yeah.
report since they were included in the work session packet last night. I just thought that they would be helpful since this month largely the committee reports are kind of in that, and also discussion items with the budget items. So I just put those in there so that we would have a record of that here as well. And if anybody has any questions on any of it, I'm happy to answer those.
Great, thank you. That was really helpful last night to have that information. I'm thankful I printed it out ahead of time because I couldn't get my access. Does anyone have any questions about any of the project status for 2022 or 2023? All right, hearing and seeing none. How about a beautification committee report?
Well, you'll see what's been going on with Judy Evans and I that we've been working on in our budget aim for this year that we proposed. So that's where your update will come from for that. And yeah, so that's what I have to say about beautification.
Great, thank you. And committee,
Nothing to report.
nothing to report. Communications, do you have any updates on the website, Kate?
I don't right now. Peter is reviewing it and kind of giving us his next steps and timing, but I haven't heard that piece yet. But it is in his hands right now, so we are moving forward.
Great, thank you. And the performance space committee, do you have anything, Andrew? Is he on yet?
Let's say I can't see him.
Okay,
yet.
I got a report from Andrew earlier this week, and basically it looks like we will be waiting until spring to hear anything further from JVA because they can't do anything while there is snow on the field. So I think that's probably about as much as we have for performance space.
Okay.
And Danielle, do you want to do anything on public art, or do you want to wait until the public art aim comes forward?
I can wait. Thank you.
Okay. And for wayfinding, Steve Roundtree, do you have anything additional on wayfinding? I know Steve Carreau said he was hoping to bring something forward in February or March.
Yeah, we haven't really been able to connect. I think he's out of the country right now. I just had COVID. We haven't made a whole lot of progress, but hopefully we can make that happen so we get it in on February or March on the agenda.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You know, I'll just say this about wayfinding. The next steps that the board will see are potential sign locations, because that's what we need to communicate back with to merge so that they can be out here when the ground thaws to look at different things and start working with CDOT and town to make sure our signs are in compliance and so we can start production, etc. So just to give dive in a little bit deeper, that's kind of what the board will see next, and that's what we're hoping to see. And then there may be some more on the app, but my hope at least is to get this moving with Merge, because we want to close out our contract with them and get this going.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kate. All right, that wraps up our informational items, which brings us into discussion items. And we have the Netter Days funding request. And Kate, are you presenting?
Yes, I believe we also have Stephanie Andelman and Peter and others that are been working on this as well. So I'm just going to kind of give a broad overview, and then I'm hoping that they will jump in and add anything that they would like to add. So, as you've seen, there is a new proposed town-sponsored event to take place the evening of March 24th and the day of the 25th, with a focus towards the local community and driving traffic into Nederland businesses. This will also have the added benefit of showcasing Nederland as a town that is both event-friendly and community-focused. Nederland's Public Works and Parks Department will be involved from conception through implementation. The overall concept of this type of event is to bring revenue to town through increasing traffic to local businesses. Netter Days will be a free, family-friendly event that is open to everyone. In order to support this inclusiveness, we will need funds to cover the cost. They need funds to cover the cost of events, staff, traffic and parking, collateral, and advertising. During this first year, they plan to have 2 to 3 main events to draw interest, along with smaller events to keep people in town and encourage exploration of our local businesses. Furthermore, we'll be encouraging businesses and establishments to hold their own special events during this time as a way to further encourage traffic through the doors. The vision for the recurring winter event shows that Nederland is alive during the colder months and beyond being just a stop for those traveling through the peak-to-peak area. And you'll see below they've broken out the proposed schedule of events with the sledding course, street square dance, ice carving, a fashion show, lightning contest, digital scavenger hunt, 5K trail run, and wood splitting contest. And you'll see below that the breakdown of costs, and the total request is for $8,500. And one question that I would have when Stephanie and anyone else wants to speak is, you stated above about traffic and parking, because that's a separate pot of money, because I'll get to that. So for this, for special events for 2023, we have $10,000 available in the special event funding that was just funded, and $30,000 in traffic control funding. This event request is for $8,500. My question is, I don't see there being a traffic line item in the budget. And if you could clarify where those traffic funds would be coming from, or where traffic would be spent, and if that is part of the $8,500, or if this is an $8,500 request to the special event fund. That's my question. And then the other questions for the board is, does the board approve of funding for a Netter Days event? And there's possible motions that I've highlighted that this can be moved to action should you choose to, and then a motion should you approve or disapprove in the amount that you wanted. So does Stephanie or anyone else want to jump in now?
Sure, I'm happy to speak, and I believe the other people who can add some color and context are Claudia, Peter, Miranda, and Nikki, who are on this call or intended to be on this call. But okay. I will begin by just speaking where this came from and why. Obviously, we don't have a winter event happening at this time. It was very important not to try to do an event before Frozen Dead Guy Days Estes Park occurs, and to have it before April mud season and really a shoulder season where people do need a break. So that puts us at the last weekend of March. That's why that date was chosen. The intention of this event really has 4 main purposes, objectives. One is to bring the community together toward the end of the winter, beginning of the spring, when we've all been holed up and haven't necessarily seen each other and don't have a community event that brings us together. So filling that void. 2 is to have an economic bump for the local businesses, because they will all be asked, every storefront and building will be asked to participate to some degree. They don't have to, but we have lots of ideas that they can do and bring people into their store or by their store. Also showing that the town, the DDA, and the town staff is in support of events, especially community local events. And it's a reason, an excuse, an event to promote positivity after there were some losses of major events and some major economic boosts to town. So that was what the thinking was behind this. We started to brainstorm in November. Unfortunately, there wasn't a DDA meeting in December to talk about it. And from the event organizing side, yes, I have done some strategy and thinking, but it has been for other people to add into. So there is a Word doc that's shared and people are putting their ideas in and we're considering it. But as it was passed along, we wanted there to be some main events that we can build on for years to come. So like it was read, a sled race turning East First Street into a sled course. We have a race, people dress up, there's some prizes, either gifts or prize money, and then people can sled down that street for the rest of the day. Meanwhile, the shops are open. There's no traffic for that one day on that street. And that night, that previous night on Friday, square dance, silent disco, easy to plug and play, but very fun and participatory. Ice sculptures, they do cost money. I talked to some ice sculptors who compete. They need significant prize money and they need the blocks of ice to be supplied, especially for a first year concept. And we would need at least 5 of them and they could be located at different businesses. Mainly, I am underlining that the businesses, the local businesses get the promotion, the flair. This budget is to promote the ability to talk about it, build a website, have possibly an app, definitely a map that people use to go and visit all these sites to help foot traffic to meet that objective of increased economics on those 2 days. There's many other events we brainstormed. We just wrote about some of them. I love the idea of a fashion show of onesies. I'd love Eldora to get involved. We have Ace Hardware to get involved. But if we don't have a commitment of the bare bones budget to pull this off, then it can't happen this year. Next year, we'd like to do it earlier in the year. Last weekend of January seems to be a popular landing date, but we don't want 2023 to go by with any criticism, negativity without trying to do something, and you have to start somewhere. I'll add one other thing before everybody else pops on, because hopefully Claudia is on this. With town participating in the conversations, their involvement, supporting it means they want the Parks and Rec Department and town and NDDA to have their logos and be mentioned behind supporting this event because it's meeting the critical mission of what everyone wants to do. But Parks and Rec and town would be taking care of some of the logistics of past events that are complicated, such as waste management, the public spaces, traffic and parking, security, signage, permits. And to answer Kate's question, it was intentional that we did not put in the difference between events and parking/traffic, because this is $8,500 we're asking from the DDA, whether it comes from parking, traffic, events, or it's an additional amount of money that people on the board accept and approve.
Like, put my 2 cents in too behind Stephanie. This is Nikki Dunn, the Parks Manager. So one of the ideas behind this event was that some of the funding could potentially go to support a scholarship fund for kids that aren't able to afford to play different sports that we have around town. So that was really appealing to me, was because I am under the philosophy that no kid should be told no they can't for any reason. And so that was part of what really drew me to it. Yes, the Parks Department is very in support of helping. There's only a few of us right now, but we would do whatever we could to support the traffic control and get the pieces to where they need to be. And in an exchange for a little bit of money thrown into a scholarship fund for kids that aren't able to afford to play the different sports and things that we offer around town. So that was really appealing to me. And then, we would help support not even just getting traffic control to where it is, but our team would help corral the zero waste team and try and getting the trash and zero waste to where it needed to be. And yeah, like Stephanie said, we would try and waive some of these permit fees, so that would be supportive to this event as well.
Thanks, Nikki. Do we have any other comments from the organization side, or shall we go around the circle on the board?
Is Claudia?
I have some comments. I'm here. Okay, so first of all, I wanted to thank Stephanie for all of her hard work on this. It's pretty amazing that this is all happening so fast. The DDA's charter is perfect for this. You know, projects that meet the needs of the business community as well as the community at large. This couldn't be better for that. The other thing I like about this is that every business is given an opportunity to participate. And if this festival brings people to town, then in my mind and my motto, how I try to run my business is, I need to get people into my shop, but I can't necessarily get them into town. So it's my job to get them into my shop once they're here. And this festival absolutely provides the opportunity for that. I have been spending some time polling local businesses, and I'm actually still gathering data on that. I sent out a list of who had already responded, and I've had 3 more just in the last hour. So Very Nice is in support. The library is in support of this, and Teams Inc. is in support of this. Everybody, 99% of the businesses so far that I've spoken to are actually very excited about this, and I'm just happy that it's a community festival being proposed and that it's very, very manageable, and that there's no reason why we can't all benefit from this. So I strongly encourage the DDA to support this. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, let's go around the circle of board members, and let's start with, sorry, just looking at my list here. Ron.
Okay, thank you. I have a few questions, and they're in the details. Who is going to own this? Will this owned by the sponsors? Will this be owned by the town? What is the ownership structure? And in terms of accounting for the event, I certainly think that Stephanie, if we pass this, deserves some minimal guarantee for personal return on this. I laud her for starting it, but I don't want to see her not be remunerated for her effort in some manner. If she's the owner, then she takes the risk. But if we're waiving fees and town fees, and we're looking to have a community event, then I would like to know what the structure is going to be in that financial regard. Thank you.
Stephanie, do you want to respond to them one at a
Sure. So it's fresh on top of mind. Thank you, Ron. There is a line item. I have volunteered enough hours in thinking about this and collaborating with the community on it and getting the support and getting the ideas. I am a line item. It is a huge discounted line item. I have the ideal amount of money we would have to have a music tent and bands and bars run by nonprofits to raise money, and it's very idealistic, and we can't pull it off this quickly. So I took everything and sized it down, and then sized it down one more time to get to that $8,500, and I will be compensated. In terms of ownership, I'll have to figure it out exactly with Miranda, but we strategically decided that for the town to own it and have to go through the BOT for everything wasn't an intelligent way to make it happen. Therefore, Gavin's behind it and has some events with this. I would be organizing it and manage the budget and report the budget and invest in such buckets as Mountaineer advertising, etc. So ownership wise, I guess you could say it's StephNet, my event consulting business, but it's in partnership. But I don't want town to take the risk of owning it. But I'm not going to do it. There's no way to raise money for this first year. I'll just leave it at that. There's no bars to raise money. I mean, physically drink bars, not a high bar. There is no participation money. Yeah, for the sled race, we might charge $10 to make sure they're committed, but there's no money to be made. So that risk is simply hours, and I don't have that hours unless they're compensated even at a discounted rate. Is that a good enough answer, or do you want more details?
Stephanie, I want to know who the owners are going to be.
Yes.
Then I'll just make this, yeah, I'll just make the statement that StephNet is founding this for year one, as in organizing it and putting the pieces together. But town is very involved. And if a trademark, if we actually call it Netter Days and the trademark is to be filed, it would be town and StephNet.
So it would be a limited liability company with equal memberships between the town and the management of the event? Is that correct?
I mean, I'm not comfortable answering that on the fly, so I don't, for the purposes of you voting, and Miranda, maybe you have a way to answer this better, but you can say that StephNet is bringing this to light this year with partnership support, but no financial support except a $3,000 guarantee.
Well, that's just Andrew here. Just to kind of jump in, and I hope the intention isn't to put you on the spot, Stephanie. Again, anything in support of all events and things regarding the community. I think our everyone's hope and knowing how well you are at executing and organizing projects. Is it at least worth? And like you said, maybe tonight's not the night to have that conversation, but the ownership structure of when it takes off and does great, and so that just there's no hurt feelings or miscommunication or misunderstanding. I think that's all that and again, maybe this doesn't have to be answered tonight, but just knowing that what the type of ownership structure is and how that plays out, and how the players are compensated. I just maybe not to repeat exactly what Ron said, but that's the goal, because I think I'm confident in everything that you apply yourself to, Stephanie, and really appreciate your service to the town, and just want to let it. I'll leave it at that.
And I'm not defensive. I think it's an excellent question, and we have been so with the heads to the ground with our regular life and our other side projects that I haven't got into that minutia yet, because if it doesn't get funded, it's not happening, and then it's not a concern. But it is an excellent question that has to be addressed, and I'd be fine if the DDA owned it, if town owned it, if I'm not concerned about the ownership. I'm concerned about enough money to pull it off. And those questions would have to be addressed within the next week of knowing that it could be funded.
Great. Thank you, Stephanie. All right. How about Steve Roundtree?
Sounds like a really cool event to have in town. I think, as usual, thank you, Steph, for having seemingly unlimited energy to make things like this happen in town. So that's all I've got.
Great. Thanks, Steve. And Danielle.
Thank you, Stephanie. This sounds awesome. I definitely want to give support to it. I think it's fantastic to have an event that town can get involved with. It would be great to get the funding approved and then get those questions that Ron brought up answered. It would be amazing that this takes off and does well. I was joking with a friend a couple months ago, hearing that we might not have Frozen Dead Guy days, and now that we don't, I'm wondering if we could throw snow sculptures in there also. I really like the idea of ice sculptures, but snow sculptures would be using something that's already here and would let smaller, younger people be involved and could maybe give a creative sense on where to put our snow piles. So that was my creative thought to throw at you, along with my support for the event. Thank you.
I love that, Danielle. And each business will be asked, what are your ideas? And that could be a kaleidoscope gallery, snow sculpture corner or something. And that's perfect. Those are the kind of things we want to hear.
Great, thank you. And Scott.
Okay. I am 100% in support of having an event like this. I think it's a great idea, and I want to thank you for bringing this forward and having the energy to come up with it. I'm also 100% in agreement that the town should be involved, DDA should be involved. I hope that if the intent is to ask for funds, it's also being okay taking a little bit of feedback from this group. And I'm going to lay it all out there on the line. I've thought about this for the last night or two and written down some notes. I'm going to beg your forgiveness in advance, but I've got a few thoughts that I'd like to put on the table for your consideration. And one of them, I think this group is used to hearing me now say this, but I want to challenge the group. And when I say the group, I mean DDA, town, StaffNet, and anybody who's involved with this. I consider this to be a group project. I want to challenge this group to be diligent and to be analytical and to really push ourselves to seek the outcomes that I think we're all talking about. So I will tell you, I have some thoughts about this date. And the reason why is because it comes at the tail end of ski season. I know ski season is mostly done by this time, but there's still people who are packing town to go and catch the tail end of the season. So I don't know it's the optimal time to try and bring a crowd into town when we already have some crowd coming through town that's here for a different reason. And I also feel like it's so close to the festival that is going to be up in Estes Park that I know that sometimes consumers and people go through a little bit of fatigue if they've got competing or what they perceive as competing festivals that may not go to both of them. So we got plenty of snow in April, and I'm wondering if there's any possibility to have this event moved another week or 2 or 3 weeks later into April. I think that it would be better attended.
Can I pop in and just address that for a second?
You can, if I'm allowed to go back to my questions. Yes, please.
Barbara, is that okay?
Of course.
I'll assume it's okay. So Eldora doesn't close until April 17th or 16th, whenever that Sunday is. You are correct. There's ski traffic, but the ski traffic, we struggle as a town to keep the ski traffic here when they see something happening and it's fun and there's lights at night and there's a shut off road and there's a big sledding hill. They'll probably stop. But it won't be this amount of crazy traffic like we had Frozen Dead Guy days where they can't even bother getting to the mountain because it's too hard to get there. So I think ski traffic or ski visits is a good thing for this event, not a bad thing in that they're already bringing so much business to the businesses. The last week of March could be the best week of the year for snow at Eldora, or it could absolutely stink. What is known is April usually is a mud season, and I would struggle putting on an event in April, but the ski area is still open in April. Also with Frozen Dead Guy days, Estes Park, you nailed it on the coffin, which is that we didn't want to do it before their event. But yes, this is the weekend after, or we're in April. I am not a fan of April. I could be overturned, but I may not be involved if it's April for lots of concerns about the weather. The biggest concern I do have, though, with this date, it is the beginning of spring break. And so there are some local families who would love to attend who might be leaving town. There are plenty of families who leave on the Monday, Tuesday and go through the next weekend, but it is a consideration that it's the first 2 days or the first night and first day of spring break, BVSD.
Okay. I know that when people travel here, they come here during spring break, whether it's our spring break or their spring break, no matter where they're coming from. I think most of the spring break starts to settle down by the end of March, which is why I think April could be a time when we will get more locals involved, because they won't be doing something else like skiing, and they won't be going to Estes Park, that's for sure. So that's my 2 cents on that. The other question I've got is that there are a lot of stories and accounts from years past about Frozen Dead Guy weeks where it has helped some businesses locally a great deal, and it was just nothing but disruptive and bad for other businesses in town. And I'm wondering, in the hope that we can diligently figure this out and do something productive, do we have a solid shared understanding of what the factors have been in the past that have helped some businesses and hurt some other businesses, and how do we correct the mistakes? How do we make this better? Now, I don't expect anybody to come up with a magic answer, but I do want this to be something that we as a group can think about. If we're going to do this, I want us to not just blow by that thought and never consider it. I've heard theories in the past about, the presence of food trucks being a real problem for our restaurants. And I don't know where the sweet spot is on that, but I hope that, if we're going to do this, that we can diligently try to figure out how to optimize the business outcomes for our local businesses. I'm curious how this event's going to be marketed in neighboring communities like Boulder, Denver, other mountain communities. Somebody's got an echo going on there. I've seen in every place I've ever lived, every small town has some festival called.
You got a bad echo.
You're
echo
echoing really bad. You're echoing really bad. Do you have?
It's not happening here. It's happening in somebody else's room.
Can everybody else mute their?
Yeah, everybody needs to be muted.
Yeah.
Okay. Most of the places where I've lived, the small surrounding communities have a festival that's called Fill in the Blank Days. And I'm wondering if there's been any thought to maybe alternative names like, Sled Fest or Wood Splitter Fest or anything Frozen or anything. I don't know if we can go with Frozen and Dead. I doubt it. How it's going to be marketed. Why is this going to be an event that nobody wants to miss? I'm curious, is Grandpa Brado, is he going to be marketed as part of this in any way? Should he be?
Okay, I'm going to jump in here because I want to address several of your questions.
Yep.
One, how this is going to be very different than Frozen Dead Guy Days is drinking is not the attraction. Family, community, local residents, and businesses, that's the attraction for them to come up with their events or take recommendations of events we think would be fun for them to host. And everyone can come, but it's not about this first year, music tents, drinking, bars, and taking over town. It's a very small section with a map that goes from Caribou Village Shopping Plaza, the village, to East First Street, and maybe Teens does something all the way down there. And that's the basics of it. It is not about drinking. It is not a price to pay to be involved, unless you want a piece of pie somewhere. If there's a pie contest and all the money that goes into eating your pie is raised for the scholarship for Parks and Rec, it is a very different story. And no, we are not going to use anything related to Frozen Dead Guy Days. No Frozen, Dead, Man, Brado, We're not allowed. We don't want to be sued. We're not going to do it. So it's intentionally very different. The idea of Netter Days, there were quite a few excited people around town by that day, by that name. Does it have to be that? I don't really care. We have about 20 ideas. We can vote on it. But you got to start somewhere. Netter Days is fun because it could be winter, it could be spring, it could be summer. It could be a whole summertime Thursday night in Gershio Field to watch movies. Who knows? Netter Days can live on, but it could be something else. I mean, it's funny you say Sled Fest because that's one of the ideas that Peter put on our idea list. But I really, the only thing that's similar to Frozen Dead Guy Days and whatever we call it, Netter Days, is that it's happening in the winter when there's still snow on the ground, when it's still ski season, and before it's the shoulder season.
Cool. Thank you for that. I'm going to give some other people time to talk in this. Again, I want to tell you that I support the idea and I think it's a good thing for the community. I thank you for coming forward with it. The only thing I would say again is I want us as a group, as a combined team, to be diligent in how we really do make this an event that produces better outcomes for our businesses locally and for the community. And we avoid whatever mistakes have happened in the past that haven't really helped some of the businesses.
This is Peter. I just wanted to add one extra thing to kind of go with what Stephanie was saying. One of the other big differences is like we're not going to be selling tickets at all. So there isn't going to be anything that's pulling people away from the local community events. And by taking things that may have been like exclusive events for Frozen Dead Guy Days and putting that towards businesses to host instead, that I think will help fix some of those problems of people avoiding local restaurants or local businesses and instead, turning that around and getting them to it.
Yeah, and the numbers of attendees, greatly different. It's a first time event. Again, we're reaching out and to answer that question of how big is the media plan with this budget, it's small. We're going to advertise from Ward to Rollinsville. If the rest of Boulder County hears about it, great. We'll be on the calendar listings, but that's not our core audience. It's local. If we could get 1,000 people to participate between Friday night and the end of Saturday, and they go into all of these businesses and participate in all these events, it's a win. Versus, as reported, Frozen Dead Guy Days 27,000, which was never true, probably 15. No, we're talking 1,000. Maybe we could accommodate 2,000. That would be amazing. 500. I hope it's more than 500. But I really hope it's 1,000.
Cool. Thanks for hearing me out.
Okay, thanks. And Catherine.
So I like this idea and I like that it's family friendly. I love Danielle's idea of like snow sculptures or maybe getting the kids, because it is going to be the beginning of spring break. There's a better chance that, kids could be around town and it gives them something to do. Maybe, a contest who can build an igloo the fastest if we have enough snow on the ground for something like that. There's a lot that could be made into, like you say, very family friendly. I mean, traditionally the Frozen Dead Guys days, everybody wanted to keep their kids out of town because of what was going on in the crowd and the drinking and everything like that. So I find this as an appealing and refreshing idea. And, I'm in awe of all the work that Stephanie and that people are willing to put into this, because there's a lot that goes into planning any kind of an event, especially an inaugural event. So thank you for your time and effort, and I'm behind the idea.
Great, thank you, Catherine. Is there, no one else has joined from the board, I don't think. So I want to make a couple comments and also ask a few questions, because what Scott was saying rings a bell as far as what we've dealt with before. Are there food trucks planned, or is it going to be on the local businesses to make money instead of giving it to out-of-town places?
Well, Kaleidoscope Kitchen's in place, so they're the only food truck that's in the territory. of where this is happening, which again goes from the plaza to First Street down to maybe Teens if they have an activity. That's the map.
Okay. Let's see, I have a lot to ask, so I'm just going to try to plug through really quickly. This has not gone before the BOT. When would it go before the BOT? It hasn't been approved by them, so I'm unclear why it's coming to us first, other than you need money to go to them. But it seems like they would have to approve something like this before we could even discuss financing anything, any kind of event. All the events that come to us have already been approved for the year.
So Board of Trustees, it's Miranda. The Board of Trustees don't approve special events. The Frozen Decade Day event was different in its capacity and its impact on town. So they had a license agreement, but administratively town staff can approve this event. So it won't ever go to the BOT. It's coming to you because of the funding request.
Okay, so it doesn't have to have a TRC?
It can have a TRC, but that's not a BOT thing either. That's an administrative, and everyone who's on the TRC has already been a part of this.
Okay. How are you going to pull off an event that has 500 or 1,000 people with no police?
So
we have no police
Stephanie,
department.
Yep, Stephanie and I were talking about that. So we actually had a similar situation with Harvest Fest. There was no police department, in which case we had required security, and so that would be what would have to be considered here as well. Obviously, our hope up until yesterday was that we would be able to do our local police, but we would have to switch gears to security measures, which is allowed under a special event to supplement police officers with security instead.
Thank you. Let's see. And you said not a focus on alcohol, but what other outside alcohol vendors will be there? Is it only the ones that are already here in town, or will there be others coming into town?
Sorry, what coming into town or not coming into town?
Other alcohol vendors, or are we using the people that are already in town?
No, there is no bar, no outside, no inside bar, no tent. It's all what already exists.
Great, thank you. Let's see. 500 to 1,000. Okay, the only I want to go back again to the financing, and we have a limited amount of financing, and you're asking for a huge portion of the financing for one event when we have a lot of people that come to us asking for financing, and we want to support all of the events in town. So I would like it broken down by event versus traffic, if there will be money put into traffic, because it is two pots, and we can't just say, oh, you get this out of the one pot, because that pot would be gone. So I do feel like that needs to be broken down for the board. What would go to the actual event, which most of them we offer $1,000. That is the amount that we have offered to most of the events that we've done in the last year. And then the other is traffic. And if it is going to be traffic, who's going to be running the traffic? Is it going to be town? Is it going to be a traffic control company? Have you talked to them? Because this is coming up really fast, and it seems like a very short amount of time to plan something of the level you are planning in Nederland.
I'm going to let Miranda weigh in on this as well. In order to do this event at the bare bones level with a lot of volunteering and dedication, it's $8,500. I'm not part of the DDA to decide how to come up with the additional funds. And I absolutely agree that this should not all come out of the general event fund. I'm involved with several events where $1,000 means the world, but this cannot be done for less than $8,500. So I don't know how you communicate with each other to make that money available. It seems to me, as just a layperson, that $30,000 for parking and traffic may be a lot, and maybe 85 can be taken out of that and shown how it's spent, because you may not have to spend all that 30, but I do not want it. I don't want any more than 1,000 to come out of the event fund. So I'm asking for additional funds or a rerouting of parking traffic funds.
Great, thank you. And have you explored any funding from any other entities in town?
at this time, with 2 months to go, if we want to have a community, town-supported, DDA-supported event, I will not have the time to get a sponsorship packet together and chase down sponsors and give them the deliverables they are due. So no, I have casually talked to some, and there are hopes that I have, and it was written in the lengthy spreadsheet of crunchy numbers that is not in the simple layout of what will be donated that is not on here. For example, prizes and additional prize money to get the participants we need, but not to pull off the bare bones. That is why it would be great to build on something and have it for a marketing reason going forward to show what we do have, what we did do, to ask for sponsorship money. Having done many events in my life, to ask for money the first year is usually in a very close network and not significant sponsorship comes your way. But the next year is much easier to show proof of concept.
Great, thank you. And Ron, can you address the difference between the two funds? Because they are designated in our budget, and my belief is we can't just take it out of one and put it in another. Is that correct? Or maybe Kate can answer that.
So maybe I can. It's Miranda. So you should be able to. So what we recently determined under a supplemental budget is as long as the movement is occurring within the fund. So you can't like pull from your TIF and put it in your operating or your operating and vice versa. But as long as it's happening within the same fund, movement can be made, but you would obviously want to notify the Board of Trustees and make sure they're aware. So of course, if there was a decision to give this event $8,500 and you wanted to add more into the special event fund, you would coordinate that with the BOT. But the funds should be able to move themselves within the fund. The budget money can move from line item to line item within the fund itself.
Thank you, Miranda.
Great, thank you. Do we have any other board comment or questions before we open it to public comment? I don't think we have anyone on, but yeah. No? Okay. Do we have any public comment? Okay. Hearing and seeing none. Go back into the packet here.
Barbara, I'm trying to
Yes,
get
Ron.
on.
Go ahead.
Let me get my phone out of the way. There is an echo. I'm sorry. I wanted to add to what oh, this is terrible. 1 second.
We're not hearing any feedback on our end, Ron.
Oh, okay. So it's just my own voice come back to me. I am very interested that the event itself is a success. I think it's great to try and promote the businesses and increase their income and the sales tax revenue. But the amount of effort that has to go into this and to create it and to sustain it needs to be, I think, rewarded proportionately, and that means some sort of owner structure. And I think Stephanie should be the principal owner, but I think there's incentive if others are owners too. And then the only other thing I would think is that perhaps the event receive a charter from the town so that it always stays within the town. I feel personally somewhat betrayed by the people who took the Frozen Dead guys to Estes Park. And this is no aspersion whatever on you, Stephanie, but I think the DDA has to consider, and so is the BOT, that the ownership structure is adequately and proportionally rewarded. Thank you.
It's Miranda. I just raised my hand. So we were kind of feverishly messaging each other offline. I think where the ownership, and of course we didn't talk about it, but where it gets a little bit, where my feeling is that this is a town-owned event is because, as you note in the budget, we are going to be paying someone, which in this case would be Stephanie, to serve as the event coordinator. And that's how that's broken down in the budget itself. And so I think our feeling is that this is a town owned event. Of course, we haven't spoken about that as a group, but that was kind of the intention here. And then to work collaboratively, use Stephanie's resources and her expertise to make sure that it is a successful one.
So then a question comes up, if it is a town-owned event, then the town is asking for the money and going to pay Stephanie directly. and the
Correct.
town- So then it's not owned by StephNet. I mean, that's what Ron was basically asking for, was if the town owns it, then it's kind of a different kind of request for me personally. If you're
Ye-
paying an event coordinator, then and what is the town's buy-in? Is town putting any money into this?
So a town is obviously all in kind. I mean, it's tons of our staff time. Of course, the parking and the flagging comes at we would provide the people for that. We would train the people for that. We would reduce costs in every way we possibly could with this being a town sponsored event. And then just what is outlined in the budget is, like Stephanie said, kind of the bare minimum we need financial support with to carry this forward, because we don't have line items for events, but are looking to hold something to kind of introduce parks to the community and kind of show everyone that, yes, of course, that we are energized and excited about events, and what better way to do that than to hold our own, and also then simultaneously encourage other community members and event organizers to join us in hosting future events.
Okay, that part makes sense to me. If it's a town owned event, then doesn't the BOT have to approve town time being spent on coordination and organization of the event, as well as Public Works and others giving in kind?
No, I mean, that's still an administrative choice we can make. The respective department heads can decide, and they're on here, all the department heads who would be involved are on this meeting, have decided this is something they want to commit their time and energy to.
And do we
And the
have
Board of Trustees is aware. We shared with them, not in an official meeting, but had shared with them kind of along with the news of Frozen Dead Guy Days that this was in the works, and there has been unanimous support for what we are doing.
Okay, great, thank you. It looks like Danielle has her hand raised, and Danielle, did you have an additional question or comment?
Yes, thank you. I wrote down some notes. I'm just trying to practice sharing my ideas. The initiation of such a great event, starting now, if we support this now, I think is a good idea. But the opportunity and chance to continue sponsoring it and look for ways to fund it throughout the year by initiating it now, I think would be really good for town, to show them that, yes, we avoided town because of Frozen Dead Guy Days. And now that that is not here, our town's stepping up to give the town something that they appreciated when Frozen Dead Guy Days first started. Seeing the initiative coming forward is amazing. I also wanted to think about our meeting last night with the BOT and see that this is another opportunity that we're cultivating teamwork. And I think it's really good to support that. Thank you, town, for doing these meetings, getting this idea, collaborating, and thank you for bringing it to the DDA. And again, I really think that we can figure out how to support this. It sounds amazing. And I also wanted to throw out another idea. The Netter Days meet, like if it's Netter Days, it's Netherland, it's days, it's multiple, which means it doesn't have to happen the same time every year or even just once a year. That can be several times a year. And I want to throw out the idea of a logo contest too, but that's stuff I can connect with you guys on later. Thank you.
Great points too. We do have a t-shirt concept with design as one of the things that would happen sooner than later and get all the kids involved. And Netter Days comes from, if anybody knows the song, I've seen better days. And Netter Days, Netherland will see better days. And that's where it comes from.
Great, thanks, Stephanie. Just to go back to the financing for a second, because I guess I want to understand from Miranda, if you're going to train parking people and traffic people, would it be possible for you to separate out what that cost would be so that it comes out of the proper tranche? So we're not taking it out of where it's not available or taking it away from other events.
So we didn't budget. I guess I maybe need clarification. We didn't budget for parking in our cost breakdown. So we wouldn't be asking for funds for that. Maybe I'm not understanding your question.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out how to rationalize how this comes out of a different fund than what it's in. It's we don't have it in our regular fund. We've approved a certain budget. We have 10,000 available for events. We want to provide money for other events. So I'm asking how that, basically I say, yeah, let's give the event $1,000 out of our event fund because there's no request for the traffic fund. That's my question. It looks like Catherine.
Do you want me to answer? Catherine, do you want to go?
Catherine,
So
and
I
then
have the idea that if the town is willing to, it sounds like the town is willing to donate that, but if they asked for the funding for that and then turn around and donate it, is that a workaround where we can take it from the fund where we are comfortable taking most of the money and the town turns around and applies that towards whatever the town in its discretion chooses to apply it for?
and
I think what's up to you. I think what I would say is what's cleaner is that you would fund it from your special event fund and then look to at a later meeting do a transfer from your parking line item to your special event line item to supplement and have that available for future funds, future events.
okay. And it looks like Ron's raising his hand too, so maybe he wants to expand on that or.
I feel we could just pass a supplemental budget and take it from our cash. The DDA is not bound by the constraints of the budget process mandated by the state like the town is. So I think if we have consensus, and I think we do, that this would be a good event and that we are forming a partnership. I think it's a risk that we should take. And I think the way we do it is put a new supplemental budget in. It's not a problem, and we have the cash.
So it's not taking it from that.
But Ron, we do have to go through town's budget process, just like we had to do with Big Springs. It would have to go before town to have approved for supplemental.
Yeah, and that's a big ask. So Rita and I are really trying not to do supplementals this year, and so that's where we're at a place where if you can move funds within different budgets that are also the same part of a fund, that's the better way to do it. And then you would have kind of an informational item before the BOT saying, yes, this fund used to be 30,000, it's now 20,000, and special events is now 20,000.
Okay, great, thank you. And it looks like Andrew has his hand up.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I understand. I believe what Miranda and Stephanie, well, specifically Miranda, brings up in regards to interagency fund reallocation and calling it whatever we will, and that's going to be the least amount of brain damage. And just bringing it back to Scott's point of like, well, how do we measure? What are the metrics? And also to set realistic expectations that like we've never really had. Well, maybe we have, and I'm just ignorant of them, but building and creating and holding ourselves to quantifiable metrics in regards to things, regardless of whatever fund we have to talk about them coming out of this year, that be something where there's not a gray area. Like we were able to, reallocate funds within among our own interior budget, yet at the same time have a pretty clear picture on where they're going, and be able to quantify, what we're getting, who's getting it, and then when this takes off, which I'm sure it will. How does it have literature about its growth and ownership structure, et cetera. So, anyways, that's I think mainly. I believe that we can figure out ways to reallocate slash call things what we need to. At the same time, as long as everything is transparent and we use it as a learning opportunity, growing opportunity to really say, okay, this is let's start getting some metrics on parking and influx of people, and at least as best as we can. That's all. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Andrew. And it looks like Scott has his hand up.
Yeah, just a couple of fast points. One, I want to be clear. I've never really said I think we need to push to measure everything and have metrics, but I am emphatically saying we need to be intentional about what we're trying to do, instead of just saying, this is a cool idea, let's do it. This is going to help business. Let's be intentional about, will it really help business, and how do we make it help business? How do we try to optimize that? The other thing is, question, Barb, do we have any other special events that we know of coming at us in the next 11 months?
Yes, all of the events that applied last year are planning to apply this year. And Tanya has already said that several new events or events that did not apply last year are going to apply this year. So we are planning on hearing from all of those. I was asking Kate for a list of those, but I asked too late. So I apologize for that. But Ned, Wild Bear, Ned Gravel.
Okay.
Harvest Fest.
Harvest Fest, kind of all of the different events we sponsored last year, we expect to hear from this year. And Kate, can you share, I don't have the right screen open, the amount that we spent last year between both of them?
Yeah.
But between parking and events.
Hold on. Yes. So, oh yeah, I'm on. Okay. Sorry. Last year we spent $8,626.25 on special events, and we spent $12,390 on traffic and safety. And Barb, you were pretty exhaustive with your list. I think, did you say Ned Gravel? Because that was another one that we supported last year as well. So
yeah, I was trying to think just off the top of my head.
Yeah, it was all the events that happened in town came to us for funding last year, and they all received around $1,000, except for Frozen Dead Guys Days. They did receive more, and I don't have that number right off the top of my head. I can look into that, but they did receive more, and you all know the reasons why you granted that to help make it happen last year. So obviously that pull from our fund won't be there this year, but like you said, with people knowing more about this over the past year, you're going to continue to get more requests, which is a great problem to have.
Okay, the reason why I asked is because now we know what we spent last year was, a little over $20,000 on a combination of special events and traffic and safety. We've got approximately $40,000 in the budget this year to do this, and just split up differently. If we want to reallocate a little bit of money, we can do that. But I do think it's too early. When we've already got twice as much in the budget this year as we spent last year, I think it's too early for us to be expanding on it already. Let's just reallocate it so it's more realistic of how we think we're going to spend the money. But again, I do want us to be intentional that we try and make this really worthwhile for the town and achieve the objectives that we say we're trying to achieve.
Agreed, Scott. Like, all of the businesses have to be involved and be part of the planning process as well, at least to be included so that nobody feels left out, because we do know that some of them did feel left out of Frozen Dead Guy Days, and some of them do feel left out of other events, and it really has to include everybody so that we can be working towards a common goal.
Cool. That's our job. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And I think Andrew, maybe, did you just not put your hand down? I wasn't sure because there's quite a few popping up
Yeah,
right
sorry, I just didn't put my hand down. I've got nothing
Thanks,
more to
Andrew.
add. Thank you.
And Danielle? Did you have any other questions or was yours just still up?
Thank you. I put my hand back up. I wanted to make a note that Stephanie's work in including businesses and getting the word out was phenomenal for her wine festival. And I feel pretty confident in her ability to move quickly and fulfill some of those wants that everybody gets a chance to be included. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Danielle.
Thanks. I was going to even say, don't forget, Ned Jazz Wine got a wonderful 2K grant from the DDA last year, which we gave a lot of credit to the DDA in our follow-up emails. Thank you.
And I bet Ned Jazz Wine will be coming back this year as well.
Definitely.
So are there any other questions or comments? And I guess one last question I have, Miranda. So we would be writing the check to town and you would be handling that. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then at the end of it, you would give us a report like the other grantees give us saying this is exactly how each dollar was spent?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So if we go to the questions before the board, does the NDDA approve funding? Does someone want to make a motion to move this to action? Because we can't approve it without moving it to action first, because it's just a discussion item.
I move that we move it to an action item. Ron.
Do I hear a second?
Again.
Thanks, Andrew. Okay, do we need to call a roll on that? Yes.
Yes. Barb Hart,
Yes?
Andrew Dewar,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Ballard,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Great, thank you. Now that it has been moved to an action item, I would be looking for a motion to approve all or some of the funding for Netter Days event funding. Do we need to first make a motion? No, we're just going to take it out of one tranche, and if we need more later, do a supplemental. So
Can I ask one question before we move forward, just so I'm confident in what we're doing here?
please.
So last year, what was that? We had 20,000 in the budget and we spent not even 20,000, correct?
So we had 10,000 in the budget last year for special events and 20 in parking. And this year we have 10 in special events and 30 in parking. So that's where they're saying that's where the 40,000 comes from versus the 20.
Okay, thank you.
And I did want to say what if you chose to only grant 1,000 from the special event and pull the remainder from parking, or you could just grant it. I'm sorry, I forgot. This is what we talked about. We would potentially, if you chose to grant the full 8,500, it would come from special events. And then next month, I would bring back an action that would talk about moving funding from parking. And then that would go then to the BOT as kind of an info item heads up, if that's the path that you chose. I hope that that is clear. I was trying to make it clear for myself as well in talking to you. So let me know if you have any questions on that part of the process, because that's what I was hearing from what Miranda was saying earlier, that if you chose to go that route.
Okay, thank you for that additional detail, Kate.
So with that information, I would be looking for a motion.
I move that we approve the $8,500 request for the as of yet not completely named event that we're going to refer to right now as potentially NedFest.
Netter Days.
Netter Days.
Netter Days. Okay.
Don't call it Nedfest.
Sorry. Netter Days.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Danielle, thank you. And Kate, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Barb Hart,
Yes?
Andrew Dewart,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Now let's go back to our.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
Steph.
terrified and excited.
You'll do great. You always do. Let's go back to our discussion items and let's talk about beautification.
All right. And as you see, Judy Evans is on, and I'm going to kind of give you the high level and then shoot it over to Judy for any other questions or any other feedback you want to ask about on 2022. But we'll get started with our proposed 2023 beautification budget. Judy Evans, the NDDA's Master Gardener, has completed a proposed 2023 beautification budget that I'm going to talk about below here. She worked with Andrea Duran, who we worked with last year at Duran's Hobby Acres. So I will say the budget is similar to that in 2022, except that we eliminated the noxious weeds and have integrated weed pulling into labor costs, and also increased the annual flower budget due to the increased budget this year. The cost of water cart has also been included due to the need to move to a more compatible system with the WIC system in the planters. This year, we desire to work with town on water. We will keep costs level, but desire to use a town water spigot due to the gravity system with the truck used for watering not working well with the WIC system in the planters. We've not finalized this conversation with town at this time. It's just our desire based on the experience of 2022 where Judy had to do a lot of hand watering to make sure that this was successful. And we had looked into buying a water cart with excess funds this year, but the water cart that we feel is the best bang for the buck we weren't able to get it for any reasonable shipping costs. And now we have a lead on being able to get it locally. So that will save a ton of money and make it a little more feasible for us. So I did want to give that background for this. And we do have the past board action and kind of how the beautification program has evolved over the past few years. And last year, with Rhea's departure, she helped us put out the RFQ for the Master Gardener. And I think that that's been really, at least from my perspective, been super successful for our program this year. And we've heard nothing but glowing things about the way that the plants in town look this summer, and everyone noticing Judy around doing her magic with the flowers. And so I was very appreciative of that and glad for how the beautification program ran this year, just from my role as executive director. We do plan for 2023 to run similarly with the same vendor and with our staff gardener, and we're hopeful that we'll be as successful as we feel that we were in 2022. I like that in the past we have always supported chemical-free noxious weed control, and Judy is willing to do the hard work on it like she did this year. And so we've moved away from the past methods. And with it working well with town, we saw it work well this year, and we hope that it'll be similarly in 2023. As I noted, we had an increased budget between 2022 and 2023. The budget for 2022 was $20,000, and the budget for 2023 that was approved was $30,000. And the financial considerations for this is a $30,000 budget is proposed. Like the above item, there's potential motions that this can be moved to an action item this month if you feel the need to move it forward this month. And then there can be a motion to either approve or disapprove the 2023 budgets with whatever edits. I'm going to go back up now to the breakdown. So the labor costs are broken down, and there's a small increase in labor costs for this year, but like we noted, that was due to moving weed pulling funds into labor costs. We have $600 for material, which is fertilizer, soil, unforeseen wick replacement, those miscellaneous, and then $1,000 for my time and my administration in working with Judy. And then we have the annual and perennial flowers budgeted about 965, and we are still waiting for the final. We may make some tweaks with Duran Hobby Acres, but we do plan on the flowers being similar to last year because we received so many comments on that. But obviously, you all can have comments on that this evening. And then we have like I noted, the cost for the water cart, the $1,500, and then the $1,000 for water. And I noted explore using the town water spigot. And then that brings us to our total of $30,000. And I'm going to hand it over to Judy to say and add anything that she'd like, and then we'll be open for questions.
Can't hear you, Judy. Is it
muted?
Is it muted? How do you unmute?
There she is.
Yay.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
No. Can you hear me now? Yay. I hadn't talked yet, so okay. Yes. So thank you for that introduction. And it was I think I would like to take a look maybe at some of the things that we learned over this last season. And we tried an experiment with a wick system. I believe the year before it was in place also. But the watering, the pots, so right now I'm only going to be talking about the 13 pots that we have. And then there's also another 10 not pots, but the pedestrian bridge. Okay, so that's pretty much what we planted with our flower budget last year.
Hey Judy.
The 13 pots, and then the pedestrian.
Hey Judy, you're having a little bit of a delay.
And there's the watering system and the flowers. Andrea with Duran's.
Hey Judy.
She's put together a packet that will be similar for the pots. And but also we do have some more flower budget money for this year. And so yeah. Yes?
You're having a little bit of a delay when you're talking, and I wonder,
I'm not hearing you, Barb.
Yeah, you're having a little bit of a delay when you're talking, but
see delay.
But maybe if you leave your screen off, it might not delay.
If you leave the screen off, it might be better.
Yes,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah, I just you guys, I just turned her off. So she should be able
I'm not getting anything here. My service at home can be pretty bad. Oh, so can you hear me?
We can hear you,
Yes, we
Judy.
can hear you.
It sounds better now. That I've turned her video off, but I hope I didn't cause her technical difficulties on her end.
Okay.
Oh, we can hear you if you can
turn my screen.
Turn your screen
okay,
off.
screen's
leave it
off.
Yep.
Does that help?
Yeah, that's much better.
Thank you. Okay. Is it better now?
Yes.
Technology.
So go ahead.
And okay, well, I'll just continue on. Okay, if you can hear me, I'll just continue. Okay. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you for taking care of that. Okay, so as I was saying, we'll do the same, pretty much the same with the pots. I've been talking, okay? So we'll do the same, pretty much the same with the pots, but in addition, we do have some more flower budget. So I think that one of the main things that we'll look at are perennials for the traffic circle, because that's a spot where all summer people are going really slow as they go around the circle. And right now we just have the one pot in the center. So we're planning on budgeting for more perennials, and we'll get a really nice perennial bed going around the traffic circle. And then two other little gardens that were not planted last year that I think would be really important to plant are when you're pulling into the BNF, into the shopping center. And we had those two little 19-inch elevated pots that were planted, but just below those, it was just a bunch of grass. And so we're going to make nice perennial beds in there also, with some of the money. Then now, depending on how many more flowers we can get, we have other priority beds. We'd just like to get some more perennial beds going in town, in addition to the flower pots. And that is going to be left open to discussion as far as which beds, which priorities, and things like that. So maybe that can start our conversation. And I'm assuming everybody can still hear me. Yes?
Yeah, it's breaking up a little bit, but we can hear you. Yeah, that's a great starting point for our conversation. Kate, do you have anything to add to that, or should we go around the circle?
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything to add. I put in my 2 cents to start, and I just.
I'm not getting anything.
I know Judy does have trouble at her home. She had hoped that she would be able to come to the community center with us.
Let's go around the circle.
Can you hear me, Barb?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Everybody could hear most of what you said. Maybe she could call it, Kate.
Not sure what to do. You can?
Judy, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Come in, Judy.
Hi.
Judy, can you hear us?
Okay.
All right. Well,
oh great.
Let's try to go around the circle.
And my phone works even less than my laptop.
Okay.
So the calling in. Say again.
Let's go around the circle and see if anyone on the board.
There you are. Is that Ron?
Nope.
Now I don't hear you. Still nothing. How unfortunate. Oh, okay. Okay, Kate call. Let's see. No. Okay. Well, Kate just let me know that you can hear me, but I'm not hearing you. So let's see what happens.
Okay, great. Let's go around the circle and see if anyone has any specific questions about it. And I think between Kate and Judy, we probably can answer those questions.
Yes.
Let's start with Andrew.
Sure. Hi. Can you hear me? Just quick double check here. Yeah. Can you hear
Yes.
me? All right. So
I
would just
can. Yes.
say,
Yes.
that I can't speak to every specific flower pot location and or nuances of watering. I know that no matter what, plants need attention. I can speak to, commercial irrigation lines, and, the fact that while maybe a larger investment than people are thinking of or aware of, if we're going to have, what I'll call focal pieces, or, large perennial assemblies, or annual assemblies that are, big enough to require someone hitting them at least once, if not two times a day in the hot, dry parts of the summer, that, looking at doing basic irrigation. I mean, a Toro sprinkler, 6 valve, 12 valve control thing, plus some tubing, you're talking less than, yeah, I realize there's labor, but hardware wise is minimal. $800, $700, $600 to really, have a significant amount of commercial irrigation distribution. And then if not that, then, if things are out on their own and the WIC system didn't work, I'd be kind of curious to just hear what the feedback was, whether it evaporated too quickly or specifically why. But there, there's other small individual plant-based systems that, would be maybe involve a bell siphon, or, etc., where you've got a system that's, almost technology free, and it's able to water. So where was I going with that? Just that, would love to just, if really what we're talking about is like, we just need to get the decent amount of commercial irrigation distribution network going through some key parts of town, then that seems to be the smartest, fastest thing to do. That's all I have to say.
Oh, well, thank you for your comments. And I'm not seeing any reasons for any kind of commercial grade irrigation systems. I mean, drip systems perhaps would get set up eventually in some of the perennial beds. But certainly we're not looking at any kind of expenses as far as laying, commercial grade with what town has. And I base this on the experience I had for many years, watering all the plots and taking care of boulder parks. And so based on that, with this water cart that we're looking at purchasing, it will that will definitely take care of the pots and any perennial beds that we're talking about putting in for this year. With just the cart. I must say that using one of the lessons learned this year was with using Ron's water truck, which there were some real positives. Like they were always there with it. If it was my schedule that, oh, I need the truck, then Ron always made sure that his crew had the truck there ready for me. And so that part of it worked fine, but the two systems don't work together. Ron's truck is a gravity feed from the water tanks through and the hose, and so it floods out. You don't get a consistent flow, and you have to have a consistent flow with the reservoir and the wicks. So we really learned how. I was basically all summer, I just used a bucket and a funnel and was filling the bucket from the water truck and then carrying them to the flowers. So we'll also save many, many hours of watering, of labor costs with the water tank, the little cart that I'll have. So because there'll be so much less time needing to water, which by the way, with the WIC system only needs to happen. Well, we got a lot of help from the rain this last year, but with the WIC system, which did work, it worked better in some pots than others, and it worked great in some pots. and only needed maybe 2-3 times a week to water versus 2 times a day kind of thing. The pedestrian bridge, I know I wasn't supposed to get water from the creek, but I carried water up from the creek every day and watered the pedestrian bridge. And that was very time consuming. And so again, the water tank will take care of, then it'll just be a much faster process. So I don't know if that addressed what you were questioning. I hope so.
Thank you, Judy.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
And Danielle.
Judy, thank you so much for your work. Kate,
Hey, Danielle.
for helping her put this together. I don't have any questions. My comments are you're doing a wonderful job and I support what you need to move forward into this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Steve Roundtree.
I don't have any additional questions or comments on this. Thank you for all the hard work during the summer to keep the town looking good.
Thanks, Steve. It was my pleasure. I had a great time.
Great, thank you. And Catherine.
I don't have any questions or comments. Again, appreciate the hard work. And it sounds like, you've considered, well, like what would be cost effective by best use of the water and best use of the time in combination so that, that the money spent for the water cart you're talking about would probably be the most efficient solution. And thank you for that consideration and for a little further explanation that you'd given on that. And that's it for me.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Scott.
Judy, like everybody else, I appreciate the effort you put into this, and just as importantly, I love to hear that you enjoy doing it. Thank you. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. And Ron.
I'd like to add my thanks and compliments to Judy for a good job. Well done.
Thank you, Ron.
Great, thank you. Go back to that one. So let's see, do we recommend approving the proposed budget? We already have the budget approved. So do we want to move this to an action item or do we want to bring this next month? Because it's a discussion item.
Barb?
Yeah.
I have a question about that. Is just we do have as far as, so I'm new at the budgeting and how this is all happening time wise, but we have to have our flower order into the greenhouse. Their deadline was January 10th, but Andrea is being really, she's working with us really well. So yeah, we do have to be able to move forward with our flower order. And I don't know if that's going to affect how you do your thing.
So this is similar to what happened last year.
Yep.
That's why it was written this way, that if there aren't any major concerns about this, that you moved it to action last year and approved it. And then I do come back next month with the funding resolution and everything that goes to the Board of Trustees. But this enables us to put in our flower order. And if you don't have any concerns, that's the path that we recommend you take. But if you have concerns, then obviously we can come back next month.
Great, thank you. That said, I would be looking for a motion to move it to an action item.
would this be called the flower budget for 2023?
Beautification budget.
Okay, I motion that we move the beautification budget for 2023 to an action item.
Second.
Great, thank you. And Kate, can you call roll?
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Dewart, did I lose Andrew?
No, I'm here.
There you are.
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Next, I would be looking for a motion to approve the 2023 beautification budget.
I move that we approve the 2023 beautification budget.
I second.
Great, thank you. And Kate, will you call the roll?
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Dewart,
Abstain.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Great, thank you. That brings us to our final discussion item of the evening, which is the Public Art 2023 mural site. And is that Danielle or Kate?
So it is Danielle. I just want to jump in and say one thing really quickly, that this, you also have the same option, and I wasn't able to put it into the AIM. For some reason, it wasn't letting me edit it. So you have the same option that you can move this to action should you see fit, and then approve the public art location and RFQ. So I just wanted to say that before Danielle gets going, and that you understood that you still have that option with this item as well, because that was similar to, again, how we handled January's meeting last year. This is all exactly how we handled the business last year.
Great, thank you, Kate. Danielle?
Yes, thank you. The summary of this I will read out loud. Nederland Public Art Committee is wanting to initiate our third year of creating murals. Last year, we supported the creation of 2 murals and 1 the year before. This year, we would like to focus on 1 mural, though large, along with other projects that the committee will bring forward after getting the mural process rolling. The site for the next mural is what we are looking for approval on, and attached is the RFQ along with an image of the wall. The Nederland Cooperative is the location of a 41-foot by 15-foot west-facing wall, well visible from the bridges in the center of town. At 615 square feet, this wall is comparable to the Nature's Own mural, which cost over $10,000. With our going rate, which was approved by recent artists, $9,225 at $15 a square foot, a $300 design fee, and the director's fee of 5% of the project's budget is what we are requesting to spend from Nederland Public Art's budget for this mural. The building and business owner already has been on board for the project and is currently reviewing the contract in order to be prepared for your decision. So Nederland Public Art has already been approved with a $20,000 budget, and we are requesting this funding to move forward with creating another mural this year. And the committee has organized it that if we get approved, we can send out the RFQ and have this rolling by the time the weather breaks and have another mural before fall. If any of you have questions or comments, I would like to hear them. In the packet, there is a photo of the wall. The Natural Foods Deli Bakery sign, I believe, will stay there. It will require scaffolding, but in the RFQ, it is explained that the artist or artists involved will need to have, I'm drawing a blank on the word, liability insurance, and provide scaffolding and organize through the funds that we give them how to maneuver everything they need to accomplish it as a professional.
Great, thank you, Danielle. Let's go around the circle and ask the board members if they have any questions about this. And let's start this time with Catherine.
Okay, I don't really have any questions about this. I know from the meeting last night that besides the beautification that this mural will create, we're hoping to mend some old history with the co-op by having this joint project and having it go off smoothly. So I'm looking forward to that. Maybe this will achieve more, kind of a sideline than just our other beautification murals have. That's my only comment.
Great, thank you. And Scott.
So question, I think I don't have the budget in front of me for 2023, but Danielle, did I just hear you say a minute ago that we have 20,000 in the budget for murals this year?
Yes.
Okay, but this is the only one we're planning right now. Is that correct?
So the budget is not just for murals, it's for projects that Nederland Public Art would like to bring to the board to be approved of.
Cool.
But this would be the only mural this year, and we will bring the other projects to you as we organize ourselves and can show you what we're thinking of.
Okay, I would say, last night we discussed the fact that, Ron, I think you know more about the history on our relationship with this establishment and their position on other potential projects like a river walk. I'm wondering if it would be of any value to talk about the mural and talk about the river walk in the same conversation with them so that we can try and build a holistic relationship instead of a one-off project by project approval relationship with them. Does anybody have any thoughts about that?
I do, and I don't want to be crude, but that looks like blackmail to me. I'd much rather have the artwork done and mend fences by doing that, and then go with a clean slate and say, can we interest you again in the Riverwalk? We funded this mural for you. We want to have you and us be in a collaborative mode and trying to get things done for the town. Thanks
Got
for asking me.
No, I got it. And you know what? My intent, certainly, I'm glad you gave me that feedback, because my intent sure isn't anything like blackmail. It's more like I said, a holistic relationship. So I don't want to suggest anything that smells bad. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Scott. And Ron, do you have additional comments?
Scott, it's been such a really sensitive issue with those folks. I want to make sure that we keep them separate, and I didn't mean to be insulting or anything with that comment. I'm always for flowers and art. Thanks.
Thanks, Ron. And Andrew.
No. I think definitely in support of the public art happening, more from like a, insurance contractor perspective. I don't know what they would go for with, liability. Maybe I'm just blowing this out of proportion. And I hope I am, but it would be that if for any reason, it was easier for, well, any painting. I just don't know, honestly, artists. This may be just standard with their scaffolding and their insurance, that they're, insured to put scaffolding 3.5, 3.5 plus stories tall, or whatever that building is over there on that west side. And throw out there that it was mentioned that we require them to have their own liability insurance, and I absolutely think that's a must. But I think maybe certainly an artist is able to, if they don't own their own scaffolding, go to a rental agency and rent, and have a rental agency put up the scaffolding. So I just, like kind of a weird technicality, but something that just wanted to throw out there, that, if I would hate to see artists be unable to execute because there's some, extra special policy they need to take out due to kind of high scaffolding work, and just maybe that they build in the cost of a scaffolding company that comes, puts it up, blesses it, takes it down, instead of. But again, artists may be making way bigger deal out of it than I need to. That's kind of the only thing that I wanted to bring up. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I think it's good to consider that, and it is stated in the RFQ that they need a minimum of $1 million liability insurance. And this call says, I believe that it doesn't require mural experience, but we do encourage the mural experience. And a lot of the artists who came to us in previous years have had murals of this scale that would require scaffolding. So my hopes are that the ones that apply will see what the location is and have the experience and the tools necessary to ask if they can get the job. But we will keep an extra eye on that and make sure that we're not surprised or let down about the situation, because the safety is important and the professional quality of following through with the job is also important.
I would like to add that you just put in the requirements that they meet all of the OSHA standards for that type of work.
I will make note of that. Thank you.
Everybody familiar with what OSHA is?
Yes.
It's the government safety department that oversees scaffolding and safety issues.
Great. Thanks, Ron. Steve Roundtree.
I think all the murals that have gone up are a cool addition to the kind of the character of town. This one, I wonder if there's an opportunity to even look at, I know Danielle, you mentioned that that you have some other projects that are in the works as well. But if the cost of putting this one up is more, if there's maybe an opportunity to come back and look at the cost of scaffolding or a piece of equipment that would help an artist to be able to get up there and get the artwork done quickly and safely. If that's something that maybe we should consider holding some funds for that, so that we don't end up potentially having a lack of interest in people applying for this. I don't know.
That's a wonderful idea, Steve. Thank you.
But otherwise, I totally support. It looks like a cool location and excited to see what it becomes.
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Steve. Or sorry, I'm going in the wrong circles. Thanks, Steve. Did I skip anyone? I think I got everybody. I don't really have any comments other than it looks like a great project to me, and I would be excited to see it happen. I know I had a question kind of outside that, Danielle, when we did the dinosaur, of course, we had kind of like the meet the artist stuff and kind of shared the information. And was there, I know we did a story on it, was there anything else for people to kind of find out about the other mural that was done? Because I feel like it hasn't received a lot of public attention. And can we include the same concepts so that we make sure that we're really sharing where these murals are in town so that everybody can kind of check them out?
Yes, one of the things that the committee is working on is planning a mural walk for the summer where we want to invite the artists to have a congregation to where people can come meet them, talk about the murals, walk through town, visit the businesses, and learn about the DDA and the committee and what we're doing. So as we're working on getting this mural up and going and considering the other projects, including a fundraiser, we want to do a mural walk in a celebration of the work that we've already done and hoping that it kind of falls into when this one is being created so people can watch the process.
Great, thank you, Danielle. That makes a lot of sense. I don't have any other questions. Is there any public comment? I don't see anybody on that hasn't been on. Hearing and seeing none, I would again be looking for a motion to take this to an action item.
I motion that sorry, I'm losing brain power here. Nederland Public Art Committee's 2023 mural proposal be moved to an action item.
Second.
Great, thank you. And Kate, can you take the roll?
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Dewart,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. And then I would look for another motion to approve the NPAC moving forward with the co-op as the mural site.
I motion that the NPAC moving forward with the Nederland Cooperative as the 2023 mural site.
Second.
Great, thank you. And Kate, can you take the roll?
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Dewart,
Yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Great,
Thank you guys. Barb, is it all right if I do a little bit of a committee update while I'm talking?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Wonderful. I wanted to let you guys know, I think last meeting we were entertaining an introduction of Judy Evans onto the Nederland Public Art Committee, and she has been joining our meetings and is now part of the committee. So I wanted to update you on that. And I think you kind of heard everything else that we're working on during this proposal. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Danielle. We have no other action items this evening. Is there any other business? Hearing and seeing none, I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
And Kate, would you take the roll?
Barb Hart,
Yes.
Andrew Dewart,
All right, yes.
Ron Mitchell,
Yes.
Danielle Kraus,
Yes.
Steve Roundtree,
Yes.
Catherine Vallon,
Yes.
Scott Papich.
Yes.
Thank you all.
Thank
Good
you,
night,
everyone. Good
everyone.
night.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.